Jason McLean, and I have been searching the globe for the last 20 years for the most effective and efficient transformational processes and change approaches. And I put this weekend together, the Getting to Grace weekend, really is a collection of the most powerful distinctions and tools and processes for rapid transformation and change that I have found in that period of time. It's also in the context of personal evolution, this idea of an ever-expanding and ever-increasing number of perspectives that we can take on, really an ever-increasing embrace of all that is, which is really the process that we engage in the activity of personal evolution. It's also the evidence of our own evolution. So whether you're a coach or a practitioner or healer of some sort looking for additional and very powerful tools for your clients, or whether you're somebody seeking to change at a very rapid but also a very deep core level, this course will have lots of goodies in it for you. So what you're going to see next is a 10-minute presentation on what's involved in the course and what the heck personal evolution is, what evolutionary awareness is, what NLP or neuro-linguistic programming is, and some of the overarching themes that you'll see in the course. If you have any questions afterwards, feel free to email me using the contact form on this website. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to contribute to you. Let's get into what this comprehensive weekend introduction is really about. And to understand that, first we need to get into what NLP is and also what is evolutionary awareness. NLP, of course, is neuro-linguistic programming, and it's very shortly the study of the structure of your subjective experience. And it's also, some would call it, the modeling of human excellence. And knowing this structure, knowing the internal structures, gives you the opportunity to maximize access to being at your best and beyond, and to access dramatically rapid healing and transformation of your past. That also allows you to access peak performance states. So there are also therapeutic applications that are far beyond the reach of what most coaches and therapists even think is possible. And there's really two main areas in the field of NLP. There's a collection of patterns and processes. And then, of course, the second half of it are the distinctions and perceptual filters used to distinguish those patterns and processes. The Getting to Grace will be a bit of both. I'm going to go into some of the most effective strategies for maximizing your own potential and tapping the wellspring of possibility within you. I'll also teach you, of course, some of the most powerful processes that I've learned over the last 20 years for rapid healing and transformation, and also for accessing deep, powerful, and profound states within you. So where does it all fit? What's the larger context? And for that, we need to talk about personal evolution and evolutionary awareness. So what is personal evolution? Briefly, it's the movement through stages in the self-developmental line. And it expands how we relate to ourselves as well as how we relate to the events around us, evidenced by a growing capacity to take on an ever-increasing number of perspectives. You'll experience greater ease, greater self-acceptance, and acceptance of really what's happening around you. Greater levels of tolerance, and massive reductions in fear, anger, shame, anxiety, for some of you, guilt. And it's really change at a core level, not just chasing context around, working on relationships or your stuff about money or your stuff about yourself or self-esteem, but really at a core level, cross-contextually or omnitextually. And this will have improvements, of course, in your emotional life, your relationships, your outlook and vision, as well as your overall ease and flow moving through life. It does not mean that you'll no longer have problems, but it does mean that the mundane stuff that has been getting in the way will no longer get in your way. And you gain the right to have far more interesting problems. Some say that spiritual development is not experiencing problems, but you gain the right to have more interesting, more complex challenges. They should at least be interesting. So let's talk a bit about states versus stages, because this is a theme that we'll go through in a weekend, and also you're going to learn a bit about a bit of both. States, they're transient, they're peaks as well as peaks. They can happen at any stage of development. They're also unstable, and they can happen at any level of development, often confused with stages to great distress. Stages are stable. They're a new floor or a new baseline. They're probabilities for where you'll respond from emotionally to any certain situation. And it determines how we interpret as well as react. This is why it's so important to have some attention around our stage of development, is that our stage will determine how we interpret events in the world happening around us, as well as where we react from. And you could say it's true change. It's also much harder to come by this movement through stages. States, you can learn to master them, but stages, and part of what happens is people go to a weekend workshop and they think that their whole life has been transformed, and usually takes 3 days, maybe a couple of weeks if they're really profound. It's a really profound weekend for the same old stuff to creep back in. And that is because people have confused a change in state or a change in what they see as possible with actual integration or a change in stage. And they're two very different things. Mastering your states is very important, but elevating your stage is a far more pervasive change, and it's critical for long-term emotional and personal fulfillment. Of course, states can become traits. In other words, they elevate your stage if they occur frequently enough. And that's why, as I just mentioned, you go to that weekend workshop and think you change forever, and then it fades in a short period of time. It was simply a state change, not a stage movement. So, stages. Let's talk about stages. This is the context in which we all live, whether we realize it or not. And this is grounded in a bunch of research by Gene Gebser, the evolution of the ego, and Dr. Claire Graves, the evolution of values, and Lawrence Kohlberg, Carol Gilligan, female moral development. So this is the simplest model, these three basic stages: pre-rational, rational, and transrational, or pre-personal, personal, and transpersonal, or egocentric, ethnocentric, or nationalistic to world-centric, from unconscious to conscious to superconscious, from instinct to intellect to intuition, or from vengeance to justice to grace. Vengeance is a very pre-rational sort of drive. Justice is a very rational approach. And of course, giving grace is a transrational, world-centric, very spiritual level of development. Or being emotionally stuck, rising to having emotional choice, and transcending to being emotionally free. These are stages of increasing wholeness, stages of increasing complexity, stages of increasing embrace. This process happens anyway, usually over the course of decades, maybe with mindful meditation or even intentional prayer, things like that. And we can all agree that the problems in the world are not being caused by people at a world-centric, gracious, transcendent spiritual stage of development. So for all our sakes, in both our personal life and in the world in general, we have a great interest in accelerating this process. And we'll be happier, and the rest of the world will be better off. So these two things are combined, evolutionary awareness and NLP, into this value-packed weekend. You'll have powerful tools, specific processes I'll teach you. You'll actually leave with some skill for healing, transformation, and effective communication models. And you'll have a map to fit it all into, as well as any other transformational work you do. There will be a context. If you have questions, please visit the Frequently Asked Questions page. Once you've done that, feel free to use the contact form on this website, or simply email me at jason@getting2grace.com. I'd love to answer any questions you have. I absolutely love questions. Your next step, if you're interested in finding out more about the course and seeing if it's a fit for you, is to use the contact page on this site to schedule a phone call with me to see if and how the course would be a benefit to you. See if it's a fit. And if it is, we'll just go ahead and get you registered. I'm Jason McLean. I'll be your guide and your facilitator. And thank you, as always, for the opportunity to contribute to you.